Wait a minute.
All right, everyone. And a good morning from Jimmy kind of snuck in there. Hey, Jimmy, how are you, everyone? This is From the Margins with James Auffant, lawyer extraordinaire, attorney extraordinaire, good friend, mentor, and a Democratic Party, or let me say a liberal insider here in the Florida politics. Is that safe to
Yeah,
say, Jimmy?
liberal. I like that better than Democrat. Yeah,
Exactly. I thought I kind of qualified it. How you doing, Jimmy?
I'm doing fine. I'm just decided that I want to take this day that we're about to reflect about the last 250 years
Yeah.
and say I was not alive for the whole 250 years, but at 77, have lived certain things. If you live long enough, history repeats. And what do I mean by that? Well, I remember two parties saying in in their history that these young people would be the destruction of the party. That what they were trying to advocate for people would not go along. That the majority of the country was against them. That they were stupid. They were communists. Okay, some of them were anti-government.
Hmm.
As a matter of fact, one of them was called a name that to this day it's kind of interesting because most people who see her don't even recognize that name that she was given. But yes, the fact that you discussed back then wealth inequality made you an anti-capitalist. Whatever am I talking about? The 60s.
Yeah.
What am I talking about? Civil rights. Martin Luther King was crazy and was most Americans opposed. Okay, and his ideas of equal rights was to the feminist movement, so women can have bank accounts and be equal to men. That was going to be the end of the party
Hmm.
and the destruction of the party and of this country. Those who protested Vietnam War were communists. For the record, for those of you who don't know it, it was somebody who was called Ho Chi Minh Nancy. And we all know who we're talking about. And Nancy Fonda. I mean, not Nancy Fonda, excuse me. Oh, did I say Nancy? Well, okay.
No, Jane
Jane
Fonda,
Fonda. Jane,
Hanoi Jane, Hanoi
oh, yeah.
Jane.
And I'm Jane because she objected to the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
So if you were against the Vietnam War, you were for the communists. And that made you a communist. The fact that those people who talk and say this is an unwanted war, whoa, have I heard that one before? No, I've never heard that one. This is a war of those who want to, of the military industry. Never heard that one before. This is a war that's all it's doing is fucking up our economy. No, never heard that one before. You know, what I'm trying to say is for those of you who think that you're seeing something new, you're really not. This has repeated itself. For those of you who think that we have always been united, no. For those of you who say, let's make America great again, in the 60s, there were people who were thinking that we're going down the garbage chute real quick. So I'm not sure what you're thinking. If you think this is the first time you've seen this country divided, boy, are you stupid. Whoa, why would you say that? In the 1800s, we had a civil war. If that's not a division, I had not no. Some say it was about slavery. Some would say it was about state rights. I don't give a shit what you call it. There was a civil war. Americans shooting Americans. Okay, not a foreign country. That's why you call it civil war because it's internal. So when people tell me, no, 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 wait a minute, this is something new. This we've never seen this division in this country. Are you really smoking cheap weed? We had a civil war in the 60s. It was so bad. It was so bad. We had impeached Warren because of the Supreme Court's decisions. We had
Wow.
the Supreme Court telling us finally that all kids should be receiving the same education in this country because prior to that they weren't. Okay,
Democracy.
we had the Supreme Court with uh, who later became a judge, saying that women had the same rights that men have,
Mhm.
for all, and all government had said that the banks cannot discriminate against a woman, saying no, you have to have your bank account under your husband's name.
Right.
A division. There's always been a division in this country. And for those of you who think that this thing is something that is new or is wrong, no, it's basically there's two sides to it. There's the Americans who believe one way, and there's the Americans who believe the other way. And what's sad about it is that both of them want the same thing,
Right.
same country, but they want it in a different way.
Mhm.
Do they want it to be a great country? Yes. And my always question and offends me to no avail is MAGA. And why does it offend me? Because I, in this 250 anniversary of this country, have never stopped believing that this is a great country. For
Indeed.
those of you who want to make us a great country again, you're full of shit. We never stopped being a great country. You offend me when you say, let's make it great again. No, no, no. It has always been great, and we always should be proud of it. So stop this like we go back in time when it was great. There's always been division in this country. I'm sorry, there's always been division. You
Sure.
want to go back to the 50s where uh, my co-host here cannot be on TV because that's a reality of this country. That's the period you want to go back to. Well, let's go back to the 30s. You want to go back to the 30s where we kill people who disagree with us and who basically Saturday night entertainment was a lynching in the town? That's the America you want to go back to? Look, this country's never stopped being great. It's always been divided. Before the war over that,
Mhm.
it's always been the Yankees versus the Rebels. The North and the South don't always see eye to eye. The North they eat bagels, and the South we eat biscuits. In the North, they eat different things and think differently than the South. It's just a matter of how this country is. But please, please, please stop this bullshit that this because the only way you can say make America great again is that you would have to admit that it's not. You cannot say do something that I'm asking you to do, but it's unnecessary because it already is. See, that's the part that offends me of this. This country's never ceased to be great. This country's never ceased to be a leader in the world. What it has
Mhm.
ceased to do is to be united. That it has. And you're not going to make it great by, and the way you're trying to say, let's do this, the MAGA movement is not looking to unite, it's looking to domain. So this is my problem that I'm going to say in the 250th anniversary. I've lived long enough. I've seen when women cannot have bank accounts.
Yeah.
I have seen where basically there were areas in towns where you couldn't buy a house. I have seen people protest health inequality in the 60s. I saw Martin Luther King protest and be arrested in every city of this country for bullshit reasons. Okay. I've seen dogs thrown on people just because they were protesting, water hoses on them just because they were protesting. And when I say water hoses, let's be clear: the water hoses you use at a fire, not the water hoses you use in your house. Okay, this is something that is repeated. Are there people here radical on both sides? Yeah, yeah. Are they to the extreme? Yeah, I have no problem. Look, we could agree to disagree. Where my concern is, you want to make America great again? Learn to respect each other. If you do that, and this country will be completely great. But it offends me when people say that this country is no longer a great country. And the only way you can say it's not a great country is because you want to make it, not because it is. You want to make it again? I don't give a shit. You use the word again. The only way you could say great again is because you have to admit that today you don't think it's a great country. And to that, I take umbrage. Severe umbrage. And for those of you who do not know what that means, I take offense. Because I know that some people don't think that's a big word, but it's not. But it's so. If you live long enough, you will see the same shit come back. I mean, I remember as a teenager hearing that the youth of this country would fuck it up. That if we followed the of this country, we would go down the drain. Well, guess what? We're in our 70s now, and you're not down the drain. Did we change things? Yes. My generation, and I'm going to be proud.
Okay.
We stopped the war. We pushed and we marched together with our African American brothers in the buses, and we got beat the crap out of down in the South. Okay. And during my generation, the Civil Act was signed into law. Did that change everything? No. It denied discrimination. Well, there's still people who thought that they were better than others. I'm not going to argue that. But yes, what else did we do? We advocated for women's rights. In the 60s was the first time that a single woman can open a bank account on her own. And that was a federal statute.
Right.
Oh, God. Small Supreme Court judges that died 2 years ago.
That was I just had her name.
Ginsburg.
I know the initials. Jeez, Jimmy.
She was an advocate in the 60s. She was from my generation for women's rights. So, all those things were going to bring the country down. We're going to make us into a cesspool. Look, why do I bring that up? Yeah, there's some social Democrats out there who are saying some stupid things. Okay. But it's kind of interesting. Some of them are causing us to have a national discussion, such as jails. Well, we should have a discussion in jails. Why? Because 42% of the population of this country is either African American or Hispanics. And by the way, for those of you who think that the rest are white, no, there's Asians and other races that are Muslims and others. Whites, I would agree, is only 38% of this whole country. Ooh, yeah, only 38%. Yet, proportionally, there are more blacks and Hispanic in jails in this country than there are whites. Mm-hmm. And you think it's because the color of their skin makes them more criminals? You're full of shit. We need to have a discussion, and I'll give you one that I saw in the 90s, and nobody thought it through, but Ronald Reagan passed a law that basically, if you had powder cocaine, you got up to 10 years. But if you had crack cocaine, which was the prediction of African Americans, you got 20.
Right.
And if you think that's fair, you're full of shit. Basically,
a lot of Democrats signed off on that also.
Oh yeah, no. But it was initiated by the Republicans, and Democrats signed on it, and I agree. Oh, yeah. They're both wrong. I'll go a step further. The city of New York, a Democratic bastion, a liberal bastion, until recently, which called the Basio's exit in New York, he stopped the stop and frisk.
Mm-hmm. It was initiated under Giuliani, correct?
Correct. A Republican. And I'm not going to try to go, but what I'm trying to say, stop and frisk. And what the police said, they saw a black person in a neighborhood that he or she does not belong, and they would stop and frisk him. They saw an Hispanic in any neighborhood, and they would stop and frisk him. If you had a Puerto Rican flag on your thing, you would be stop and frisk 2 or 3 times a day. Okay.
Wow.
And Why? Because he went into this neighborhood, these two cops saw you, they stop and frisk you. Then you went to another neighborhood. You said, look, and the only reason is your nationality. As a matter of fact, there's an old joke from the Revolutionary War of this country. If you needed something transported, and knew there was not going to be a risk of searching,
Okay.
you put it in a white woman's dress.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay,
I can see
but white women don't commit crimes. You know, the white men, they're all dressed up and don't know anything. As a matter of fact, there's a guy who got arrested in 1973
Okay.
for panhandling in
Okay.
a three-piece suit.
In a three-piece suit, panhandling.
And when they asked him what happened, he was a stockbroker. He lost his job. But
Okay.
the day before, he realized he had left his wallet at the office. He took it out for some reason, and he left it there. And when he was there, because he was in a three-piece suit, and he was a star, he looked well. He asked another white man, "Hey man, I forgot my wallet. Can you give me?" And the guy gave him $5 and kept walking. When he lost his job, he realized that if it was in a three-piece suit, first, his wife would not suspect anything. Two, the police would not check him. And three, white people would give him money. You know, it was basically, hey, I forgot. Oh, okay. He would get home, and basically he was making more than $300 a day.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
You know,
Wow.
but no, they didn't suspect of him until there was a officer who was there on light duty and had to sit down 8 hours, and he observed them and he said, "This guy's panhandle." And then he got arrested.
Wow.
So what I'm trying to say is that if you think that there's no discrimination in this country against African Americans and Hispanics, you're full of shit.
Yeah. Women.
And for the
men.
record, for both parties, okay? I'm not going to try to say, and I'm not going to say one is worse than the other. No, and I'm not going to say that, you know. So yes, but if you live long enough, you're going to see it. Now they call them communists. God, right? Jane Ho Chi Minh. If you were against the war of Vietnam, you were taken as a communist. As a matter of fact, I have a friend of mine who, I don't know if you ever saw the Law and Order.
Yes, a big fan of Law and Order SVU. Special Victim
one of the guys who goes to the FBI and asks for his record.
Okay.
And he's a cop. The FBI gives him his record. And all his record was because in the 60s, he was a protester.
Yeah.
There's another episode in which they admit, and God knows that Law and Order is pro law enforcement. It is not. There's a guy who was a cop, who was paid as a cop to influence into the anti-war gang. He gets shot by another security guard, and they find his minivan years later. And then it was admitted by the police that the New York Police Department had over 200 cops infiltrated into. So when we tend to think that this is something new, look, people have been complaining about the wealth inequality in this country. Whoa! For years.
Exactly.
And by the way, let's stop the bullshit and the crapola. In 2016, Bernie Sanders announced and ran for president as a Democrat and had the largest groups that in this country has been seen. He had the vote of the youth and some of the seniors and others who were voting for him. And his campaign was about wealth inequality. Let's not try to pretend that it was something else.
Okay.
Percent that has okay. And right now, I'm going to take the advantage to take and use this program again. And the thing. In the 60s, they were talking about the Social Security going down. And it had a problem. And Ronald Reagan in the 70s sat down with Chip O'Neill and fixed it. You know what they say? Yeah, this should last at least 40 to 45 years. There's no fix that's permanent. That's bullshit. Okay.
Sure.
But they left 4 areas that they never corrected.
Okay.
One, when Social Security was created to get certain votes in the legislature, they gave the state a way to make money from Social Security. If you apply for disability, the state agency will be the one who investigates your claim and will charge Social Security for that service.
Oh, okay.
That needs to be gone. Second thing that needs to be gone, and this is a very simple thing, is the exemption. Okay. This is the one that when people hear it, this is why people are so pissed off about wealth inequality.
Okay.
Social Security has a very strange and stupid exemption. That's why it always goes bankrupt. Currently, you pay your Social Security taxes up to the first $190,000 that you make.
Correct.
But that was done in 1978 when $190,000 was a lot of money. Today, it's not a big deal. There's a lot of doctors, lawyers, and other people who make more than that. Okay.
Correct.
Why do I say this? Because the base of economics, just pure economics, let's eliminate the bullshit of passions. You would need an 18% of the national product to support Social Security. Now, the 18% would come from the taxes.
Okay.
Now, one of the reasons Social Security is having problems is because the 190 is not cutting it. It would have to go for it to survive another 30 years, not permanently. Okay. Again, I want to make this exception. You would have to go up to 2.9 million. That will give you another 30 years. Okay. My problem with it is, what the fuck are we giving tax breaks on Social Security to the rich? I'm sorry. If your income is your income and you pay based on that. Oh, but Social Security does not have deductions. I don't give a shit that they don't have deductions.
Okay.
You made $6 million. You pay on your $6 million. I'm sorry. I have no problem with that. No problem. We all are equal, and that would make Social Security survive for the next 30 years at 2.9. Okay. You take it from 190. Why? Because what you could buy now with the 190 is not the same as what you're going to buy in 1978. As a matter of fact, if you go in the ratio, it is 2.4. I'm giving it the other $500,000. So for the future.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the 2. The 3rd, stop the waste. Now the waste that you have is a little bit different than what you might think. What waste do we have? Social Security has 1,228. 1,228, yes. Staff assigned to Congress. They don't take care of the public. Oh,
wait. What? To Congress?
Okay, and let me give you the number so you can start with it. You have each congressman has an office that he could call, his staff could call and say, hey, I have David Washington here. That person is assigned to that congressman to work and answer his constituents' problem. That's how many congressmen do we have?
We have 450 something if you include the senators and all that stuff.
No.
That's not the senators, but
Not
just
the
Congress.
senators. That's
425.
Congress. Then you have 100 of those, but you have Puerto Rico, Guam, and so on that have representatives in the Virgin Islands. So you have to have those four too. Then that's about half of it. The other half are people who are there assigned, like the Congressional Budget Committee.
Yes, sir.
These are the people that, hey, give me statistics. I need you to check onto this. Those are the other.
Oh, hell
And
no.
that, you want to talk about waste, for the record, Musk, you idiot, you didn't touch those. Okay. Why? Because you were told not to. Okay.
That's correct. He was told not to.
Okay.
Whoa,
So
Jimmy.
you take
That's
those away.
huge.
You take those away and maybe reduce it to half. You will save at least $12 million a year. Is that a lot of money? No, but it's some. Last but not least, Social Security is spending on, and this is something that we need to carefully review, spending money, checking out areas that its software is not updated to do.
That's correct.
This is a kind of different thing. The Congress has refused to spend money with Oracle. For those of you who don't know who Oracle is, no, it is not from the movie. It's the company that makes software. Okay, it's not from, but it's the company that, and they have not updated their software. And why is that such a big thing? Well, because they have a bunch of they're spending and consulting and other things because they don't have it. Okay, that is a problem. They constantly, and let me explain to you why I say this. Give you an example. You've all heard of overpayments, but the overpayments are caused by two things. One, the IRS, and the other is Social Security itself. Why? Because the program can only do reviews every 4 years. That's how it's programmed.
Only 40.
So after 4 years, if for some reason you aren't paid wrong, you disqualify in March of 2025, but they continue paying you, yeah, that's an overpayment. Or, for example, all of a sudden you came into some money and you're on SSI, that's, I think, the other IRS. Well, IRS gives their numbers to every agency 18 months after the period. So it's,
okay.
That is another. You do those four things and you can save it. But the most important one is increase that amount. Look, it's just pure economic. It's not pass it to the left or to the right. If you have less income, you pay less. And what you could buy with $190 now, you cannot buy in the future much. And what you could buy in 1978, that was a lot of money. It was. As a matter of fact, back then, Nixon bought silence for $1 million. Now you can buy silence for $1 million. Okay. So just wanted to go into that because I think sometimes I keep hearing people like, this is something new. It is. Mm-hmm. It's something that's been happening. This country, we had a civil war. We had a revolt because we wanted to tax whiskey. Well, we go on. As a matter of fact, this country, some people think we started for independence of this country. No. We didn't want to be taxed. Just for those of you don't remember, it was white men did not want to pay the taxes. They were tarring, fettering tax collectors. So yeah, it was more of a tax. We were in great harmony with England, and to England say, we're going to tax you. And I said, oh, no, you don't. So
and if I remember correctly, the king was taxing the colonies less than the citizens or the royal subjects of the king in actually Britain. So that was a very interesting fact.
No. It was not interesting. Let me tell you the legal point of it.
Okay.
Uh, I find it interesting because people do not realize that the big powers in Spain, France, Portugal, and England, if you were born in America, you were considered a subject,
That's correct.
not a citizen, a subject.
Subject.
So a
That's correct.
subject can be charged only less than a citizen. That's where it really comes from. It was not that they were
Ah.
trying to be nice to us, because that,
Oh no. Oh
that,
yes, of course.
that's bullshit. But it is interesting because people tell me, well, why would they do that? Well, this is the history. So
Jimmy, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That's who we were thinking
that's
of
who I'm
earlier.
thinking. She became an advocate for female rights, and she, yeah, argued so many cases in front of the Supreme Court that she was appointed by, I think it was Bill Clinton.
I believe it was Clinton. I believe it was.
So yeah, and right now it's the, and for the record, now that we mentioned the Supreme Court, I made a prediction which came out correct. The birthright. The birthright.
Yes, you did.
I said that. And you know, and it's not 5-4. People learn how this works.
Mhm.
Kavanaugh concurred with the decision, but he wanted to explain his concurrence that Congress has the power to do so. Okay?
Correct.
But he agrees with the conclusion. What he said is, as it is today, these 5 people are correct. So it's really a 6-3. And it's interesting because if I read Clarence Thomas' dissent,
So did I.
look, I'm going to not go into politics because I don't want. But from the pure legal mind way of thinking it, what the fuck are you thinking of? This is the U.S. Constitution.
Yes.
Can you interpret it? Yes. Can you interpret it and say, well, this is what they meant? That's where I always had a problem. Because if I'm going to be blunt about this,
Mhm.
I could go back to decisions of the U.S. Supreme Court that did not give rights to women, did not give rights to African Americans, and 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 this allowed that people who had come here legally, I'm going to say it even for legally, who went through Ellis Islands, who got their paperwork to be in this country, okay? Because Alamaga people tell them, no, no, no. These people came through Ellis Island. They were certified. And they say,
Yes.
here you are. And the Supreme Court allowed them to be discriminated. Look, with all due respect to Clarence, I'm not sure where you're coming from. And I'm really honest about this. I'm not sure. But from a
But
legal
Jimmy,
point of view, there's no real substance there. I have to agree with, and I hate to say this, I have to agree with Confident that if you take the
can-
law the way it is, that was the correct fine.
but Jimmy, going back to Justice Thomas's dissenting review, he harkens back to um, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, and even some of the words and works of Frederick Douglass and Dred Scott. He harkened back to Dred Scott, and his premise was that to be a U.S. citizen, you were born and domiciled and under the jurisdiction of the United States government. What we're facing now, and I think this is the main argument, is that there's this birth tourism that is happening, particularly with the Chinese. And folks are coming to America, whether it's from China, whether it's from England, from Africa, from Korea, wherever. They're coming to America, have their children, and they do not have the intention of remaining here and maintaining or being under the jurisdiction of the United States for their baby who was born on U.S.
You
ground.
see, but the problem I have with that is 2 parts.
Mhm.
one, Kevin is right. If you want to make that a distinction, that has to have to come from Congress. It should.
That we both agree with that.
I am
We both agree with
opposed
that.
to the courts writing law. I am vividly opposed to the courts writing law. And what he's trying to do is say, hey, let me go back and bring you two black people and tell you that this. No. That's where he offends me completely. Because, yes, but that's not what is being sold to the American public. Most people who were out there said, and this is what they're saying, that people whose kids are born here or not legally into this country should not be U.S. citizens. And what he's doing by not thinking it through, because sometimes this is the problem with Clarence, he doesn't think through. Okay, so if you're going to take the argument that they live and they're domiciled in this country, so Pedro and Carmen came from Mexico, they had a child here, that child was born here, raised here, went to the schools here, has been domiciled here, has been paying taxes here.
They are under the jurisdiction.
They are Americans.
Yes. That child.
Okay. No. That's what I mean. The child is an American citizen.
Yes.
And those are the ones that they've been signed to MAGA. We're going to get rid of all these Mexicans. We're going to get rid of all these illegals that are here. Because the people who are coming to this country to do what you're saying, they come with a legal visa. Let's stop the bullshit. 99%,
yes, they do.
They're rich people who come here with a visa, and they have
they have their kids, and then they go back.
Exactly. So this is not what MAGA is advocating. MAGA wants to kick out all the kids that were born in this country and raised in this country, who are DACA and all those others, because their parents were entered here illegally, or not illegally, without permission, because it's not illegal to enter without permission. And many of them entered legally, but with tourist visas, and then never go back after the 6 months.
So
Jimmy, what he's doing, and I don't think you're realizing this, he's saying it is good, it's okay for what you want to kick out to stay here because they were born here, they were raised here, they went to school here, they have been domiciled here, and these kids, and now that they're adults, or even if they're childs, I'll give you an example. If the way I interpret Thomas, you answer me if I'm incorrect. Pedro and Pedra come from Mexico. They have a child. Child goes, is born and raised in this country by parents who may not be here legally. Let's not make that an issue. This child has been raised here, is 12 years old. She's gone to elementary school here. She's gone to middle school here. And all of a sudden somebody said, simply because your parents did not come in here legally, you're subject to deportation. Under what Thomas said, this is where I don't think he thought it through. That child, under his descent, is legal here because that child has been under the jurisdiction of the United States, has been domiciled in the United States in their entire life. And that's not what MAGA is looking for. I'm sorry.
Right. Now, that's a separate issue. Now, okay, to take your example, Pedro and Petra come from Mexico, illegally enter the United States, and they're here illegally. They have 12-year-old Maria, right? Okay. Maria has lived here for 12 years. She was born here, domiciled here. We both agree. And this is what I took from Justice Thomas's dissent, that child is here legally. That child is a citizen. However, that child's parents are not here legally. So let's take your example further. INS picks up Pedro and Petra, and they are deported. Maria is here as a 12-year-old, as a minor, with no family. Let's just say
I'll make it simple for her.
So in the best interest of Maria, should she stay here by herself, or would she leave with her parents?
For you, I'll even make it simpler for you.
I got another example for you after this
No,
one.
on the Thomas, if she could stay with a relative that's here legally, no problem.
Let's say there's no relative. I
If there's
agree
no
with you, though.
relative,
I agree.
then there's
I agree
another
with
thing. Then there's another thing that is addressed in Thomas by Thomas that I don't think anybody picked up. Child can be is going with her parents. She's never been deported because she can't be deported.
She can't be deported. That's correct. However,
She turns 18 years old as a U.S. citizen, comes in through the border of Mexico and says, "Hey, here's my birth certificate. Here's everything.
Yep.
And I'm in this country." So what you're trying to say to everybody that we're going to get rid of them? No, you're not. You might get rid of the parents, but not the children.
Right. And I bring that example up, Jimmy, because when I had my other life in Illinois working in child protection, I had a similar case just like that. And Maria had to go back to her parents, to the country that they originated from.
And
yes, I'm sure she's back. I mean, I'm sure she's back. I'm sure I will come back.
And you know what's even more pathetical about that? And this is why I say if you live long enough, you pick up their bullshit. Okay, this is the bullshit. People, listen to this one. Maria comes back. She's a U.S. citizen. As a U.S. citizen, you know what she's entitled to?
All the benefits of a U.S. citizen. A passport, Social Security, Medicare if she stays long enough. But go ahead.
Well, if she pays into the system, she gets Medicare. Medicare is not free. For those of you, stop bitching. It's not free.
Yeah.
It's right now, for seniors are paying $169 a month. That is cheaper than some other private health insurance. That's bullshit too. But it's not free. That's what I'm trying to get. And to get it, you have to have paid into Social Security for a minimum of 40 years. So let's clarify. It's not free. And I don't even consider a benefit. You know what I call it? An entitlement. But, okay.
Entitlement, sure. Yes.
Okay.
We agree.
Maria is in this country as a U.S. citizen under our current immigration laws because we don't want to fix them, because both parties make it an issue so they can run and win elections. That's why they don't fix it. And I say both parties, okay, before, and the one who uses it the most is the Republicans, but Democrats use it in other ways. Okay, here is where it becomes interesting. With the current laws, that's never going to be changed because neither of them have the guts. I am an American citizen. I want to request that my parents come to live with me. And she gets that granted under the current laws. So when you're spending all this stupid time trying to do something, stupid people, I shouldn't say that. The G should stop counting as gullible. With all due respect, Maria comes back. Oh, I want my parents here. That's a legitimate request. When that will be granted, it might take 5 years. It might take 7 years. That's the bullshit that a lot of you might say. Right? She could get them here. And you know what's worse? She gets them here legally. So they were not, but now they are. And you know what's even worse?
What's that, Jimmy?
That if they were working here, and like most workers here, they were paying Social Security, and they paid it for a period of long time, let's say 10 or 20 years, they may be entitled to benefits.
Yes, that's true.
And why? Because they pay. See, because I hate this thing that you people out there, especially in the MAGA, try to pretend that people get things for free. You know why the word entitlement is six? Because the government took our money. Okay. And said, I'm taking this money from Social Security and I'm going to use this money to pay you for your retirement when you become old and to pay for you if you become disabled or if because your spouse dies and you become a widow and you need help with these children. Okay. I take your money.
Right.
And I guarantee you that I'm going to use it for this. So it is not that the government's giving me shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's not that the government is giving me shit. I pay into it. But the other one that has always pissed me off, people are living off the government. No, it's the reverse. The government lives off us. Our taxes pay us. Now, that you think that our taxes should not be used for welfare, that's a discussion we can have. That
Sure.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
that you think that our taxes should not be used to give us health insurance, that's a discussion that can be had.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
to say that the people who don't pay taxes are the rich, but the middle class and the poor, they pay taxes. And how do they pay taxes? Oh, look, right now it's kind of interesting, but people don't realize that there's sales taxes. Okay, you buy something on eBay, you buy something on Amazon, you're paying taxes for that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so in this world that we assist, our government takes our money. So if we take some of his money, we're not stealing, and we're not getting anything for free. It's our money back. That's why that's why we're having changes right now. The bullshit that was been sold to this country for the last 50 years, the young generations know better.
Mm.
Right now, even when you go to most of the young people's websites, or not websites, their comments, just like we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram. If you go, according to the survey that recently, most of the comments about the war in Iran are not favorable. They're
Mm-hmm.
not favorable.
Sure. That's social media. Yes.
In
It's
social
true.
media, they're not favorable. And
Right.
all the different companies that have done surveys have realized that this war has had 4 major consequences.
Mm.
One, Americans have become anti-Israel in a way that we have not seen since the foundation of Israel. And I think the survey is wrong in one aspect. I think if they ask, do you believe in Israel, they might get one answer. But since they're not giving them the option, do you think that Netanyahu should go away? So
There's a difference, Jimmy.
there's a difference.
I agree with you.
Okay. And I think since they don't get them, but we have to admit, there's a lot of anti-Semitism coming out there. And
Yes, sir.
there is
a lot.
And
a lot of anti-Semitism.
And it's caused, in my opinion, by Netanyahu, not by Israel, but by Netanyahu.
We can agree to that, sure.
Second, a lot of people do not believe that they were in immediate danger with Iran, either for 2 reasons. And this is the interesting part of this one, because it goes down. One, because most of the people were led to believe that Iran nuclear power was wiped out October of last year. And they believe that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the others were told after the 8 days that it was still wiped out. So why are we still discussing it? So they just tend to believe that they don't have the capability. Third reason, which I find even more interesting, is that this country, both Democrats and Republicans, are against foreign wars. That's one thing that unites us. And we don't even know.
I believe there are just wars, like the Iran war, but no one has an appetite for another war where we're in for decades.
But you have to admit one thing.
What's that?
David, you're in a minority thinking that Iran was a just war.
Oh yeah, and I could justify it. I think people.
No, you in your mind you could justify it. As I, in my mind, can say it's a war of choice.
No.
You know,
Yes.
it's a matter.
Right.
Justification is always depends which mouth it comes out of. I've always liked that big argument.
Sure.
Okay. But the fourth one that really is why Americans are the highest against the war in Iraq is the cost. The cost of gasoline,
Okay.
the cost of food, the cost of everything that is related to this. And yes, there are some costs that have occurred that not necessarily are a direct result of the war in Iran, but they're part of it's indirect. And to be quite honest, people will instead of now I'll give you another friend of mine in MAGA. Well, I found this one was so laughable that I just had to accept.
Okay.
Instead of trying to admit that Donald Trump has fucked up the economy, he just said that that was a result of the war. So it's easier because he thinks, like most people do think falsely, that this is going to disappear in 2 or 3 weeks and everything's going to go back to fine. To be quite honest, right now, before I came here to record this program, I realized that the price of gasoline went up 12 cents since yesterday.
Wow.
And I will explain that a little later. But the real thing that I think is a problem that most people do not have. MAGA put Trump in power. MAGA does not trust the government.
Mm-hmm.
Biden and doesn't trust the government of Donald Trump. They still see themselves as the outsiders, as the people that the government's there for the rich and not for the middle class or the poor, which is kind of interesting because when social Democrats say that, they're communists. But MAGA people still see that they cannot trust the government and that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. But they're not social democrats, but they see the same thing in a different aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I would have to say that people do not realize the truth of all this. 90% of the gasoline that was held up by Iran was paid at $90 a barrel. When it went to market, it did not go down to 68. It was still being sold at price. The reason that you go from week to week and prices go out, and let me explain this because this was explained to me by a friend of mine who owns a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
The truck comes in and they say, "Hey, we have your gas. It's $82 a barrel." Okay, he puts it into his computer thing. Computer calculates his profit and sends up in electronics how much your price of your gas is going to be. It fluctuates from week to week. It's one of those commodities that fluctuate week to week. Second, it's a commodity that people do not understand. And why do I say they don't understand? When people tell me, "Hey, the barrel is $72 a barrel," I say, "Yeah, that's from Iran to put into the ship. The ship charges me for transporting it here. Once it comes into this country, for the record, each gallon gets 22 cents tax on it."
Damn right.
Okay?
That's right.
Okay. So when people tell me, but it's $72, that's who cares? Who cares? Because the 22 cents that the government puts on it, the person who sells it to you, he's not selling it to you at the same price he buys it.
That's right. They're gonna get their money. They're gonna get their profit.
22 cents. The guy who moves the truck from point A to point B charges for that. So when people say, "Wait a minute, it's a barrel," no, the barrel influences. Okay, no problem.
There's higher demand right now because of the July 4th holiday.
Yeah,
prices are up.
Prices are up. So people, with all due respect,
market.
When people tell me it's going to go down, not really. I do not see it ever be cheaper than 350. And why do I say that? Let me
Hmm.
make this. There's a part of economy that you do not understand. As somebody who studies it from time to time, and I like to study it because it has nothing to do with politics. Economy
Right.
is market sustainability. What is that? Well, $2. Well,
Yeah.
people are paying $2. Hey, what do you think if we drop it to 150? Why would I drop it to 150? I'll be losing 50 cents each. That makes no sense. Well, people are paying 4.25, 4.50 a gallon, so
Yeah.
now I can increase it. So if I was working at the gas station with a 22-cent profit, now I could go up to 30, which is 8 cents more. Okay, and don't be surprised if the government decides that they want to increase their 20. And by the way, it's both the state and the federal government charge you for gasoline taxes. Okay, both.
That's right.
You get fucked both ways. So
That's
and
right.
then decide that we need. And one of the things that is being discussed in Tallahassee now that they're reducing property taxes is to allow the counties to put 2 or 3 cents more on taxes on gasoline
Yep.
to make up for that difference. So
Yep.
what I like to say is that they cut you one area and they screw you another. So
Pretty much. Yeah.
people, if you think you're getting a tax break, you're stupid.
I stopped. I stopped even worrying about the cost of gas. If I have to buy gas, I have to buy gas. If it's $5, I have to buy it. If it's
Yeah.
$2, I have to buy it.
And you think of it differently, but maybe it's never happened to you. It's happened to me 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time I just broke out laughing. The guy looked at me like, "Why are you laughing?" Because I just couldn't. But I just couldn't. It was so stupid. The first time was, "Oh, this prices are up," and this is, and he went on a anti-Israel. The
Sure.
second guy went anti OPEC.
Sure.
That guy was more or less more interesting that he blamed that the U.S. should be having ships next to these tankers, and if Iran attacked them, attack Iran, which never happened, by the way. But it
Yeah.
was not a stupid idea. But the fifth guy really made me just fall and laugh. He was bitching about the prices. He was bitching about the war.
Yep.
He was bitching how the Israel's influence into that war. He was bitching about the way the war was being handled, and he was bitching that it was an unnecessary war. He said that about 4 times.
Sure.
Why did he make me laugh? I'll give you one guess.
Maybe he was well-to-do. He may be better off than most of us, and
Oh,
he was
no,
still
no.
bitching.
He was in an old truck. I'm sorry.
Oh, he was in the old truck. Why was he bitching? I mean, what was his deal? Really?
Why? What did I find it funny?
Why did you find it funny?
He had a Trump and a MAGA bumper sticker on his car. See,
And
now
Jimmy,
you're laughing.
I am, because Jimmy, I think, and this is, I don't know, maybe it's because how we were raised or whatever, but or the education system, or just personal motivation, just to be curious and inquire a little bit more. But I just find that Americans don't really want to pursue more knowledge about a particular situation and get a better understanding. Maybe I'm saying that kind of weird or whatever.
No, no, no,
However,
no. You're right. But let's be honest.
sure,
There's so much disinformation around there on both sides
of
that
course,
and I'll give you an example. Republicans watch Fox News and News Nation. That's where they get their information from. And Democrats get it from CNN and MS. Now, I agree with that. And to be blunt, I try what everybody tells me. This guy's unfair. No.
Mm-hmm.
There is no really objective reporting. Okay?
Sure.
There's no objective reporting. But what I found interesting is that this guy could use the word unnecessary war. He had to hear that somewhere. He complained about the war was being poorly handled. He was blaming Israel for it. He was, and everything. I was like, but when he said that who was ever in charge of the war did not know what he was doing, that's why I had to laugh. Because I was like, everybody, even those who would try to say, I know better, when you're saying whoever's handling the war is fucking up, with all due respect, is Donald Trump. Can't really, he gave the orders to the generals and all that. If they did it right or wrong, that's another issue. But the commander in chief is him. And I was like, does he really realize he's criticizing the guy who he has a bumper sticker on? And the problem is that what people do not understand is that a true MAGA is anti-war. It's anti-foreign war altogether. Okay.
Anti forever wars. There's a difference.
Oh, every war is forever. That's a misnomer. It's always forever. Because right now, even if we enter into an agreement with Iran, forever we're going to have people reviewing. Forever we're going to be doing this. Forever so this thing that is over is bullshit that's sold to us. It's going to be going on forever. Right now, and I'll give you an example.
Sure.
Okay. Point 1 says that Lebanon cannot be touched. Okay.
Correct.
Another crazy Israel decides to invade and bombard the area where Hezbollah is, or they claim that Hezbollah is. But I had
That's
to get
nice.
out to both sides.
Said.
Okay. And Iran says, okay, you guys bombarded Lebanon, the agreement's off. Okay.
Fair enough.
And we're back to square one. That's what I'm trying to get to. Hey, you promised me $300 billion and you haven't given me my money. Deal's up. There's so many little details that we tend to think that, oh, well, it's signed and that's it. Technically, any violation of those points justifies that the war's off. My biggest one is that the last one, nobody reads it. And that one is really, really clear. This agreement expires in 60 days. So even if it's signed, it's expired.
Okay.
So there's no agreement. Oh, we're going to sign new ones. That is the hope. And the hope is that in 60 days, everything's going to be worked out. Well, if you have people who don't know what they're doing, like that. And last but not least, this is the one that I really, really, really want to break down. The war. Did you ever see Young Sheldon?
You mentioned that show several times. No, I have not. I have not watched.
Okay.
I don't watch that much television anymore.
Okay. The kid makes a friend with a kid who's from Vietnam. Okay. They invite him to dinner, and he starts discussing what happened. And first thing he calls it, he does not call it the Vietnam War.
Fair enough.
The people in Vietnam call it the American War. Because who was fighting, it was the Americans. And that is true. We were the ones fighting.
That's correct. After the French left.
Yeah. Who realized this is a lost battle. Let's get out of here. So yeah. So they when they came to this country, which is well documented, They tried to shrimp fish in Texas, and their boats were burned out. Okay, and they suffered a lot of discrimination. That is true. Uh, it was brought up. What I'm trying to say is, you still have people here from Vietnam in 2026. As a matter of fact, if you go to Mills Avenue here in Orlando,
Yes, good food.
excellent food. I love it.
People.
I
Yeah.
love it. Little Saigon. If you're in Orlando, go to Little Saigon. Great food.
Jimmy, I think they closed Little Saigon. I know,
They did?
right there on the corner
Yeah.
of Thornton and Colonial. Yeah, I used to go there a lot. It's closed. They retired. They
Oh,
retired.
good for them.
Yes,
Good for them.
yeah,
That was a
good
great
food.
restaurant.
It was.
So, but they have a lot of Vietnamese restaurants.
Oh,
And
no doubt.
as a matter of fact, I always like to joke about it. But if you go to the Publix there nearby, there's a lot of Vietnamese food in there. And in the corner of Bumby and Colonial,
Yeah.
there's a fresh market. And
Yes.
that is all Asia. Okay. What I'm trying to say is, when you say you think that war is over, the consequences of it are not. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
The killings might. The consequences are not. And and the memories tend to fade in a different way. I'm not sure. Look, most Americans today would say that we lost the war in Vietnam.
Okay.
In 50 years, I'm not sure what they're going to say about the war in Iran. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that is justified. I doubt it, because I've never seen the last war that Americans considered justified was World War II. And the only reason it was justified is because we were attacked. Okay. That's, yeah.
I think the Iran war is a war in the greater revolution that's happening here in America, and that's a story for a whole different time. But
Yeah,
we're seeing the change in American hegemony, the American system, and the old rules-based system is going goodbye.
Oh,
It's
yes,
going by
it
the
is.
wayside.
As a matter of fact, that's part of my fuck ups of this week. And part of them,
Here we
I'm
go.
going to blame the American people on both,
Ooh.
not only the parties. Fuck up of the week is as today, 3rd of July, the president has not signed the Affordability Act.
Right.
People, the Save America Act does not have the votes. Plus, with all due respect, as of today, most state ballots are in the mail. Okay? That's a fact of life. Can't be changed. Next month are the primaries, but not really. Most states like Florida have early voting, which is way about 2 weeks before the primary. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And those ballots have also been printed. And the people who are conducting those, well, for the record, in most countries, are volunteers. Okay? Because let's call them what they are. They get paid for it, but they're volunteers. We wouldn't have the time to train them to do the SAVE Act. So stop the theater, Mr. President, with this. But the biggest fuck up is that basically this will become law, okay, because he didn't sign it.
Mm-hmm.
And when Republicans go out there to campaign that they were behind it, somebody's going to yell, yeah, but your president wasn't. Well, he was. No, he didn't sign it. This theatrics over the SAVE Act should not have anything to do with a good law that I think both parties have agreed to and pass. Fuck up of the week of the Democrats. Don't let them take the message. No, redistricting is not as bad as it looks. In Texas, some of those purple or pink districts are winnable, especially some of those that have high numbers of independents. Independents could go either way. Okay. If they go 50-50, which they never do, you're right, a Republican will win, provided Republicans come out to vote. Also, you have to understand one thing. Hispanics in Texas and in Florida are really pissed off with their governors and with their federal government. So you have a chance there if you work those votes. Now, in commemoration of what this weekend is, I'm going to give you, the American people, what I consider something that offends me. And that is not being discussed as it should be discussed. Donald Trump reported, not some news agency, not some people out there who's inventing this. It bears his signature. And he has admitted that last year he made $2.4 billion in 1 year while he was president. More than half of that was in bitcoins coming from sources that he did not devour. But those he did devour are highly questionable. These are people who do business with the government. These are people who need influence with them. As a matter of fact, there's a couple of even defense contractors, and I'm wondering what the fuck they're paying him for.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not his income. This is his personal income. Because the business income that his sons are running, we really do not know because it doesn't fall under the category. Look, you hypocrite Republicans and MAGAs got pissed off because Biden's son made $50,000 off Ukraine. Did he make it after his father's name? Yeah, he did. He did. But don't come now and act like, well, no big deal. He's making all this money and he's not corrupt. You people have always got it wrong. He's never chickened out. What he's done is he created a tariff and somebody said, hey, I'll deposit $3.5 million in Bitcoins, and he signed an exception to that. He signed more exceptions than he signed tariffs. But with all due respect to everybody, you really are going to sit here and not make an issue that your president signed and admitted that he made $2.5 billion in 1 year as president of this country. And you don't think that there's an appearance of impropriety? You don't think there's an appearance of corruption or anything like that? Then I would have to stick to my guns. The G in MAGA does not stand for great. It stands for gullible. With that, please subscribe. Please like, dislike, make comments into the shorts. I love your comments. I will try to answer them. But with that, have a great 4th of July. Enjoy yourself and have fun. And David, play a lot of tennis tomorrow.
I will, sir. You enjoy yourself, Jimmy. Happy 4th of July. Happy 250th America. Take care.
Take care.
God bless.
God bless.